Sales and marketing. I just got off the phone with a telemarketer, and I think there is something we can learn from telemarketers and car salesmen. If you followed this channel for a while, you know that our main purpose for this channel is to share the message of Jesus through declaring God's goodness and what He's doing around the world. And I was thinking about that because one of my main focuses of everything I think about is the Great Commission, right? Go into all the world, preach the gospel, and that's what we're called to do. We're called to be people who share the love of Christ to everyone we meet. And I just got off the phone with a telemarketer, and it got me to think, there's something we can learn as Christians from telemarketers. And so I believe there's a big difference between telemarketers, the way they sell things, and car salesmen and the way they sell things. But both we can learn what to do and what not to do when we're sharing the gospel, because in a world that is in such dire need, we need to be sharing the gospel and telling people about Him. And so I got off I was talking to this person on the telephone, and they, telemarketers, as they do, they don't really care if you're there or not. They say hello, you say hello, and then they just start talking, right? They just go into their spiel of, here, this thing, and then if you say no thank you, I'm not interested, and then they just keep talking. I believe that is the wrong way to evangelize. If we're looking at it from a Christian point of view, right, a lot of times we fall into the trap of well, if I just keep talking, and that's kind of the idea of what telemarketers do, right? They call you and they are trying to sell you something. They're trying to convince you to do something, and they don't really listen to what you say. They just keep talking. Because if we fall into that trap of just continuing to talk and not listening to people when we're trying to share the gospel, then we're going to miss out on what they're looking for. I tell the lady, no thanks, I'm not interested. And she just keeps talking. So instead of finding out why I'm not interested, she didn't really care. She just continued with her spiel. But there's a huge difference between how they sell things and how car salesmen sell things, right? And so I was thinking about it, and the Lord kind of impressed on me the idea of a car salesman. What do they do, right? They know people are looking for something. And we as Christians know the world is looking for something, and we have the answer, right? We know the world is looking for something, just like a car salesman knows that people are looking for something. But instead of simply deciding that the person must get this one thing, they are able to help a person and answer questions, right? So if a person goes into a car dealership, and they say, oh, I need a car, the car salesman doesn't just say, okay, well, here's the only car we have in the lot. You must take it now. Here it is. But what if I wanted a smaller one? What if I wanted a bigger one? The car salesman has options and ideas. And so the idea here is that as believers, we should be like Paul when he said, I will be all things to all people. So instead of throwing something in people's faces and not listening to what they're saying, if they have concerns, if they have worries, if they have fears, address those. Don't just keep throwing out the same thing over and over and over, because then they're not going to listen. Eventually they'll just keep saying no thank you, and then hang up the call, right? But a car salesman, they listen.
Here's the top search result.
I don't know what that was. I guess Google was talking to me. But the idea of a car salesman is they listen to what you're saying, and when you say, oh, this doesn't quite fit, then they look at your concerns and they try something else, and they try something else. we need to try something else. Sometimes it's a listening, sometimes it's a relationship, sometimes it's a shoulder to cry on. Sometimes it's not saying a word and just being there for someone. Other times it's stopping and asking if you could pray with them. Other times it's giving a verse. Other times it's sharing a song. Whatever it may be that we can reach out to people, we need to be there. We need to be all things to all people so that we might win some for Christ. If one thing isn't working, try something else. Because just like a car salesman, don't just keep talking until they hang up and stop listening to you. But listen to them and then address those issues the best that you can through the Word and through the power of the Holy Spirit. And in doing that, we can more effectively share the gospel and build those relationships, not just talking, but instead building relationships and seeing people truly come to the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. So that's what I've been thinking about today. And as always, be the light wherever you go.